What if the drink in your hand is telling a story far deeper than you realize? Today, we're uncovering the hidden narratives behind social drinking, exposing a toxic chemical that's been lurking in plain sight, and debunking a medical myth that's been swimming around in our collective consciousness for decades. Amanda Kuda joins us to tear back the curtain on social rituals we take for granted, revealing truths that will make you question everything you thought you knew about your next night out.
The Discovery Doc Podcast, where your journey to empowered, non-toxic living begins. Join me, Dr. CeCe, a doctor of nursing practice, self-proclaimed Toxin Tamer, and mama of four alongside
me, Annah Kate, your medical mystery overachiever. Together, we'll uncover the latest in functional medicine, debunk health myths, tame toxins, and provide practical tips for thriving in a modern world.
Get ready to take control of your health with expert insights, raw stories, and actionable wellness strategies designed to help you and your family lead vibrant, toxin-free lives.
Let's discover together. Welcome to the Discovery Doc Podcast. This month, we are joined by Amanda Kuda. Dr. CeCe, can you tell us about Amanda? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Welcome to 2025.
Wild. That's crazy. 2025. Anyways, we have Amanda on with us all month long. We are so excited to have you, Amanda. Amanda is an alcohol-free life coach who works to help you start manifesting the life that you deserve and the life that you desire, particularly by way of breaking up with alcohol, which is just super cool. We have not had anyone like you on our podcast, and I just think your experience and your message is so powerful. So I cannot wait to dive in. Amanda, again, it's such a special and unique niche. Can you please just tell our audience what led you here? What led you to become an alcohol-free life coach?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. CeCe and Anna Kate. I'm so excited to share a little bit of my background with everyone because I think that it is going to be a really eye-opening and different approach to what most people have heard about alcohol and sobriety, because if you're like me, you associate sobriety with having a problem, or like I used to be, at least it's having a problem. The only reason you need to quit drinking is if you've hit rock bottom and you're ticking the boxes of what it means to be a problematic drinker. And I developed that perception because of what society had fed me and because I have a history of alcoholism in my family. So I've seen alcoholism up close. I've watched people go to AA and, different recovery approaches. And so when I started drinking in my late teens as kind of a way to fit in, I knew that it wasn't the end all be all of what I should be doing in my life. In fact, I remember never really wanting to start drinking, but also realizing that all of the kids my age had started doing that. And if I didn't do it, then I would fail to fit in. And I already was struggling to fit in anyway. So I thought, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And I started drinking, knowing that if I never got as bad as some of the people who I witnessed in my life who suffered from alcoholism, that I'd be doing pretty good. And that's a really weird approach to take, but I can tell you from someone who's helped and supported people who want to change their relationship with alcohol for the past 6.5 years, that's a very common mindset that, hey, as long as I don't reach this pinnacle of my relationship with alcohol, everything is okay. And so I went through my teens and 20s as a social kind of party drinker. And then as I evolved into someone who had a corporate job, I kind of turned into a little bit of an emotional and a stress drinker, but never at any level that was problematic. It was all very social and normalized. No one would have ever said, oh, hey, you should really reconsider your drinking. You have a problem. And I think that that's really important to note for anyone who's listening, that most people who are drinkers have a normal, quote unquote, relationship with alcohol where they're drinking kind of in that gray area where it's not problematic, or maybe sometimes it's excessive, but it's what everyone else is doing. So there's no reason to bat an eye at it. And when I got to my 30s, I started to have this kind of sense that maybe there was something bigger for me in my life. I really started to feel this sense of kind of existential crisis, that I wasn't doing professionally, personally, on all levels, what I was supposed to be doing to live the life that I wanted. And I kind of started freaking out. So I started doing this full life optimization process. I started learning about spirituality. I started learning about personal development. I was reading all of the books, joining these Facebook groups, following influencers, and pinning inspiring quotes on Pinterest. And I was going to yoga and the gym and using my Fitness Pal and doing all of these things that at the time I thought, wow, this is really going to change my life. But if I'm being honest, ladies, my life only improved incrementally, and I couldn't figure out why. And I just was kind of banging my head against the wall thinking, am I just doomed for failure? Am I doing something wrong? I was in therapy, you name it. I was really, really trying, or so I thought. But what I didn't realize is for every amount of effort that I put in during the week to being more mindful, I was Friday night at 5:30 p.m. on through the weekend checking out and being completely mindless by drinking alcohol. And some weeks it was in moderation and some weeks it was a little excessive, but I really stopped and looked at this habit and thought, wait a second, what if this is the thing? What if this is the thing that is keeping everything else from really sticking into place? So in 2017, for dry January, I made the decision that I was going to quit for just a month, just to see how it was. And for many reasons, I got into that month and realized, well, wait a second, this is not going to be a true experiment unless I take it a little longer. 30 days is not representative of what my life would really be like without alcohol. And so I made a decision to stretch it out into 90 days. 90 days turned into 6 months, 6 months into 9 months, 9 months into a year. And here I am, 8 years, right as of, this month later, having not drank a sip of alcohol and feeling so much like I'm living in my purpose. All of the things that I had wanted for and I had been hoping for and working for have come into my life with great ease. And as you ladies mentioned, now I work with and coach women in this space who are also kind of drinking in the gray area or the normal area and want to quit drinking and start to step into their best lives as well. And so I have a background in coaching and we can get into all of that, but that's the short elevator, the long elevator ride, I guess, version of my story, that I kind of fell into this by accident, but ultimately as a part of my personal and wellness path, that I wanted to live a better life. And I realized that alcohol was getting in the way.
Wow, I love that so much. So what do you classifies as a casual or social drinker? So our listeners who identify with, hey, yeah, I don't have an alcohol problem, but yes, I drink occasionally. What to you is classified as that casual or social drinker?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to say probably most people who are listening, unless you are a very rarely, I drink truly a glass of champagne at New Year's and then on my anniversary or something like that, you are probably drinking in the gray area. Most people, that's where they drink. And it is the person who has a glass of wine or two at the end of the night to wind down and de-stress and, kind of close down for the night, close down shop, or the person who is like me, who you don't really drink throughout the week, but on the weekends, you kind of drink a little more aggressively, you make up for that lost time. So either way, both people are probably drinking about the same amount. Sometimes it is, like you said, just for, I would say, pseudo false emotional regulation to de-stress and calm down or help you sleep. And then the other one is to fit in or to be more social or to relieve social anxiety. So there's kind of different use cases, but for the most part, it's people who are drinking at a very normal level, 5 or so drinks a week, even though a doctor would say, and most health organizations now would say that's not healthy. We've all grown up and, I'm in my late 30s now thinking that a few glasses of alcohol is okay, if not maybe even good for you, which is a lie, by the way. But it's very much what we've been taught is okay in terms of a normal drinking society habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all about busting some myths on this
Mhm.
podcast. So can you touch real quick and bust the myth that drinking allows you to sleep better?
Oh my goodness. Well, I will tell you what, I think that I've worked with so many women who they think they need a glass of wine to shut off and go to sleep at night. And I don't know if I wear a wearable, I wear an Aura ring, but a lot of people probably wear a Whoop, or I see, Anna Kate, you have I think an Apple Watch on.
Mm-hmm.
And these devices that track our sleep have come up with tremendous data to debunk that. So it's not only perception, the data is there. All of these devices can tell in an instant if you've had any sort of alcohol whatsoever to drink, because it completely transforms the quality of sleep you're getting. And in reality, the sleep you get if you're having a few glasses of wine as kind of that sedative is that you're really, even if you don't feel like you're passing out, really you're passing out. You're not getting quality sleep where you're going through all of the stages and really having that proper sleep experience. So if you want to try a really cool experiment and you have a wearable, to look at what your data is right now and then take a break from alcohol and see how much it changes, because it usually is pretty profound.
Does anyone feel attacked?
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
But I think another one, now that AK opened this, abyss of debunking myths, one other one that I would love you to touch upon, because you mentioned this, is that yes, it is a lot of my patients will say, oh, hey, I read that, having 2 glasses of red wine is actually good for me. Can you just speak your mind on that and what you would tell those women?
Uh-oh, we lost your audio.
I was muted. I'm sure you ladies can give us some examples of places where you can get resveratrol and other sorts of antioxidants and things in real life. And I'll tell you what, let's give just an example of antioxidants. A handful of blueberries is going to have better quality antioxidants than a glass of wine. And you're not going to have to give your body the experience of processing ethanol at this in the same experience. So it's kind of like the this double-edged sword of, yeah, there are antioxidants, there are things in wine specifically, but you could also get all of those same nutrients from something in nature and not have to also give your body the problem of processing ethanol. And which, by the way, when it does that, your body has to go into kind of repair mode, because it is focused on getting this toxin out of your body. So your body really cannot focus on doing all of the other necessary things that it needs to do when your body is focused on processing that ethanol. And so you really are doing yourself a disservice, and we can kind of dive into that a little bit more. But the benefits can be received in some other place without also having the consequences. So unfortunately, that is a myth we must debunk. And all of the headlines that have suggested that, they're kind of just like Cosmo magazine headlines, right? It's like a sexy headline to like make okay of a not amazing habit. However, drinking alcohol is not bad or wrong or evil. It's just not good for you. And all of the health organizations from 2020 on have now come out to say there's actually 0 amount of alcohol that is healthy for you to drink, which I think is kind of jarring for most people.
Yeah. And it to kind of further push that point, alcohol is a known carcinogen. We know that. And so it is, I do agree there with these headlines that come out that say, hey, the benefits of having 1 or 2 glasses of wine, you can say, okay, yes, here's a benefit, but it's not followed up with, here's the disadvantage. There's 2 sides to that. So yes, we have that great, resveratrol, which we can get from plenty of other places, or those amino acids, but hey, here's a side dose of also a known carcinogen too. That would make that headline not look so pretty.
Yeah, we have to do damage control before we do the repair of the antioxidants, and you're never going to outpace the damage control with alcohol.
Right. Something that's causing oxidation and then giving antioxidants. It's very counterintuitive.
Eat chocolate.
Yes, that's what I'm about here. Absolutely.
So I love this quote. I'm going to read it. I saw this off your website, and it says, I see you doing big things in this life, and I can't see you doing them with alcohol in the picture. Let's say that we classify ourselves as social drinkers. So, we don't have an alcohol problem. We do drink a drink or 2 while we're out, or maybe that glass of wine or 2 at night to unwind. What are some cues that those people or those women can look for that may show us that we are actually a little bit more reliant on alcohol than we think?
I think the first thing is that if you feel punched in the gut at all by any of the things we've said in this conversation, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to listen to that, that's a first clue. And I also want to say that it's really important to know that we're not here to convince or browbeat or bully anyone to change their relationship with alcohol. But if you're sitting here and you kind of are like, I've been wondering about that. The quote you read, actually, I'll kind of go into a teeny bit of my spiritual journey, is a intuitive hit that I got one day while I was taking a shower. I was standing in the shower. I was, maybe 5 to 6 months into my alcohol-free journey. And I just had this epiphany of the fact that I was meant to do big things in this life, and that alcohol was just getting in the way. And it hurt, ladies. That epiphany hurt, because it meant that I had to go against the grain and do something, if I wanted to listen to it, counterintuitive, in order to achieve my potential. And if you are listening to this and you're thinking, you know what, there is something, I have like a someday win goal or a desire, or I just want to be healthier and I feel like I'm banging my head up against the wall, or it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And I know that it's possible for me, but I just can't seem to get there. Then maybe the answer is you need to get out of your own way. And alcohol is the thing that is kind of that banana peel that keeps tripping you up. And I found that to be true in my life and in the lives of my clients, that if you have something that you want to achieve, you have to stop backpedaling yourself. And one of the most frequent, obvious ways we do that in our society, of course, there's all sorts of other self-sabotage we can use it to get in our own way, but alcohol is a really obvious and tangible one. And so for me, it was just no nonsense to get that out of the picture, because I had this sense that I could be healthier, happier, more fulfilled, more expressed if I just stopped drinking. And that was true for me.
Right. And the truth of the matter is, you won't know how you feel until you completely commit to yourself in the process to then see what you could be and could become without that thing. And whether that's alcohol, something that comes to mind with my patients, and it's unrelated but related, is something like gluten. I have a lot of patients who have autoimmune reactivity to gluten, and I find it within the GI tract. So they do a celiac panel in the blood and it's negative, but we find that anti-gliadin in the GI tract. And they're like, well, I went gluten-free for 2 weeks and I felt no difference. Well, those antibodies have a half-life of 2 months. And so you have to commit to 4 months of your life to really removing that gluten in its entirety and helping to heal your gut and heal your body to truly feel what you could feel like without that insult to your immune system. So my assumption is here, and we'll get into this in the next couple episodes, is that you won't know, immediately what it feels like if it's only been a couple days or a week. And you have to commit to that journey, and who knows how much, better you could feel until you actually do it.
100%. And it's very much like gluten, really, because it does a number on your gut and all your other vital organs. And so to have it like fully processed out of your system to feel those effects, it's not going to be overnight. You're not going to see, doves and rainbows type miracles happening after just a couple of weeks, which is frustrating because we think, well, I'm not hungover anymore. I haven't drank. And so I hear this from my clients all the time. When do I start seeing those magical effects? And really, you have to let your body repair first. And there's a half-life type process that goes into that. But once you get to that level where you're feeling fully optimal, for me, I would feel crazy if I went back to the old way, because I didn't know how good I could feel and what my baseline for feeling good was until I got to the actual baseline, which, by the way, definitely wasn't what I was experiencing drinking alcohol. That was super mediocre baseline, but I thought that was normal because that's how I got used to feeling.
Right. And I think one other thing I'll comment on here is it's very personal. So I would classify previously myself as a social drinker. And then I had our 4th son, and obviously didn't drink in pregnancy. 2 weeks postpartum, my husband was having a glass of wine and I took 2 sips and I broke out in hives. And I was like, oh, I'm like obviously reacting here. And then maybe a month went by and I had another couple sips of something, and I woke, and I think it was probably wine. I woke up in the middle of the night completely nauseous, and I was like, and I'm done. Like my body changed because I hadn't had alcohol in so long. It changed how I process it. And that was the first time in my entire life where outside of when I was a kid and in college and whatever, and being, silly and hungover, the first time in my adult life where I really felt that health impact enough where I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me. I don't like it. I don't like how I feel. I don't feel good. And so, but again, you wouldn't know that unless I had that big break from it, or then my body to properly respond to it, because it is an oxidizer. So you do have to heal and recover from the oxidative stress that it does cause. So
we need to change your branding a little bit.
Mine?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because she's crunchy with a side of tequila.
Oh, yeah, I see that. I don't. It's not.
No tequila.
No tequila anymore.
So I could
I
go.
haven't drank in a very long time.
I could go the rest of my life without another drop of alcohol and be perfectly happy. I was raised in a dry house. My dad's dad was an alcoholic, and my dad has never touched a drop of alcohol in his entire life.
Wow.
So, and I absolutely respect them. So I have had alcohol before, but I could totally not have it ever again in my life and be perfectly happy.
Yeah. So y'all stay tuned with Amanda and us, that was good English, as we kind of keep diving into what this looks like, what this journey could look like for you. What are the benefits that you could feel without even really knowing? You know, to most of us, it's just, hey, a glass of wine or two at night. But what could life look like without that?
Realistic goals and action steps coming up next.
Yes.
Stay tuned. Do you have any burning questions for the Discovery Doc or our esteemed guest? Leave us a voicemail or drop us a comment on our podcast page at thediscoverydoc.com. Let's shift our focus to the Toxin Tamer feature of our episode, where we'll explore the nitty-gritty of how to effectively manage and reduce exposure to toxins in our daily lives. Today's toxin to tame?
You have to say it like we said it.
Paraquat.
Paraquat. We're going to say it like that the entire episode.
I promise we won't.
We will. I'm just kidding. I'll forget.
We're gonna roll those R's.
Paraquat. Join us.
Okay, so what is paraquat?
Okay, we're done, I promise. So paraquat dichloride, or commonly called paraquat, as we will call it, is one of the most widely used herbicides in the United States and actually throughout the entire world. It is a very toxic chemical that's used for weeds and grass, to control weeds and grass, in many agricultural and non-agricultural settings. So it can also be used for the desiccation of crops like cotton prior to harvest. We'll go into more in the next episode about where we can find it. But it tends to be most often used on weeds and grass for that overgrowth, for ones that are naturally resistant to things like Roundup. Okay, let's pause for a second. If we have weeds that are resistant to Roundup, which contains glyphosate, right? That vegetation growth over time, if it becomes resistant to glyphosate, farmers need something different, something stronger to use. We already know, a lot of us know, that glyphosate is, just look at the lawsuits around the world and look at where it's banned, right? It's cancer causing. We know that. So if I'm talking about the chemical that is stronger than glyphosate, need we even say any more?
No.
We're going to go into it, though. We are going to go into it.
We're going to talk about it for 4 more episodes.
We are. So be prepared. But paraquat, other ways that it can be used is obviously to stop weeds and unwanted vegetation in crop fields and fruit trees. Again, applied to pre-harvest, applied at the end of a harvest season, or before a new season when fields need to be cleared absolutely completely. They use paraquat, or to kill off an entire just species of unwanted crop, such as when people are growing illegal marijuana, then and crops, and they're discovered, then they will use that to just destroy that entire field. In the United States, paraquat is usually available in liquid doses, essentially, because they vary by strength. Yeah, yes.
And you do have to have a license to get this, right?
Yes. So look at you. That's literally our next bullet point.
Like she hadn't even scrolled down to the notes. Okay, good.
The EPA, it classifies it as restricted use, so you have to have a license to use it. You can't use it on your house or in your backyard or anything. You actually have to have a license to use it because it is that toxic.
Yeah, our food manufacturers can use it, but we can't use it in our own home.
Or you need like a biohazard suit to be able to use it.
Yeah.
So I want to leave you guys with a little bit of a cliffhanger as to why we should avoid this. I'm not going to give you all the details, but I think it's so important because it is so widely used to just give you a little cliffhanger to make you tune in next week. And that cliffhanger is this. Paraquat is several times more powerful than Roundup. Okay, and we know Roundup, again, has been banned in the EU, in Mexico, in different countries across the world because it is known to cause cancer. That means it is consequently also several times more toxic to humans. Mm-hmm. Okay, let that sink in. So knowing where it is applied and where you could have exposure to this chemical is really important. Paraquat is toxic enough that it can cause death instantly, if it is ingested.
So next week, we're going to tell you where this is found, and you will be surprised, and you will probably not ever eat again.
Okay, you will eat.
You will.
Because knowledge is power, and we're going to, do what we can with it, and we have some solutions that we can absolutely abide by. But that is, what makes it the most lethal and the most dangerous is the fact that we know that any type of exposure, even just from living near it or working near a farm where that herbicide has been used, can cause irreversible brain damage and Parkinson's.
Why is this allowed?
Exactly. So this is not fear mongering. This is based in literature. It has been proven. So as Americans, we have the right to know where this is being used, why it's being used, and how we can avoid it. So that's what we're going to go into in the next couple episodes this month.
You know, they could use it on kudzu, but they choose not to. They use it on stuff. We'll tell you about what they use it on next time.
Exactly.
Empower your well-being journey with Dr. CeCe's top picks and swaps for the season. Sign up for our mailing list at thediscoverydoc.com to embrace the art of living well. Join us on our quest to bust medical myths. In this segment, we will be diving deep into the world of health-related misinformation and uncovering the truth and empowering you with accurate knowledge. All right, Dr. CeCe, this one... Okay, so last month, if you missed it, we talked about how gum lives in your gut for 7 years. So we're going to go back to our childhood. And why do we have to wait to go swimming? That's the torture. We get our snack and we have to do adult swim only. And you got to wait 15 minutes for that anyway. So why do we have to wait 30 minutes before we go swimming?
Okay.
It's torture.
Do you actually have to wait 30 minutes? So some people will say, when I was a kid, I remember it being an hour. Like, oh, you can't eat an hour before you go swimming or something. And every kid has heard that, right? I mean, I've done it with my kids eating snacks. So here's the thing. There's no medical evidence to support this, quote, myth. And first, we're going to debunk it, but then we're going to support it.
Yes.
We're just living on a line here.
There's a method to the madness.
There is. Because every mom has told their kids that they're going to get severe cramps and drown if they eat. And then they go swim right afterwards. The theory behind it is that basically when you're in rest and digest, so you eat and then you go in rest and digest, and the blood flow to your stomach and your intestines is needed to absorb nutrients. So that means that there's less blood flow to deliver oxygen and to remove waste products from the muscles that you are exercising. In reality, we have plenty of blood flow and oxygen to supply both your stomach and your muscles. And so there's a little bit of both. So number one is if you're swimming for rec purposes, where it's just like for fun and you're getting in and it's kind of leisurely, then there is no reason that you need to wait after eating. You shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. But if you are going in the water to exercise,
You're doing the 400 freestyle.
yes, now you do actually want to wait an hour, a true hour, not 30 minutes, but an hour, to simply just allow for digestion to occur. That's it. Because with the strenuous exercise, obviously that demand on the body requires more oxygenation, more blood flow to those muscles that you're exercising. And it does, rest and digest is just what it sounds like. It does kind of take some of that blood flow and concentrate it on the areas of your GI tract that are needed for digestion. So it can temporarily decrease the flow to the muscles and result in some cramping. But then also if you're doing it for exercise or competition purposes, that means that you might not perform as well as you could.
Nobody wants to eat before they do a heavy lift or a workout, any other kind of workout, like going on a long bike ride or a triathlon. You don't want to fill your belly up.
No. So that's where my kind of line is. My other line is knowing my kids. My kids, when they get in the pool, they are not like floating and relaxing in the sun. They are wild animals. Wild animals, jumping, running, flipping, playing, like doing all the things. So that to me, when I look at the amount of physical activity that's happening, that is strenuous. That is not just leisurely chilling in the pool, at the bar side on a little step stool, chilling. That is active playing. So debunking part of it, supporting other parts, use your discretion. If your kid or yourself are really getting into the pool to do a lot of activity, wait it out. If you're not, there's no reason to. If your kids are not feral animals, like mine can be, then let them go. They'll be fine.
Yeah. So another point is if you're using sunscreen, put the sunscreen on first because it's got to absorb while they're having their snack and eating. And then that gives everybody time to do all the things.
Right.
Right.
But make sure it's a good sunscreen, not a toxic sunscreen. In our household, we don't even use it. So I'm going to say that. But
for those of you that like to use sunscreen,
use a good quality one.
Yes.
While you're letting your kiddos rest and digest.
Yes. Your skin needs sun. Okay. Anyway,
We're done.
all right. So yes, you can go swimming. Just wait it out. Just use your best.
Discernment.
Yeah, that's the word.
Use discernment. Absolutely.
And if you get a cramp, get out. I mean, let's make it easy. I'm ready for the pool. It's cold
Yes, it is.
because it's January.
And we're done now, guys. We'll see you later.
Until next time, let's discover together. Make sure that you are on the insider list. Join our list to become an insider for all the exclusive perks. This list will close, so make sure that you get on it before it closes.
Today, we revealed that every sip carries a narrative of social connection, hidden risks, and the myths we blindly accept. Amanda has shown us that social drinking isn't just about the alcohol. It's about understanding ourselves, our environments, and the subtle ways we interact with the world around us. From the chemical dangers of Paraquat to swimming myths that have been keeping us out of the water, we've challenged the status quo and brought hidden truths to light. Before diving deeper into the wellness world, let's pause for a quick disclaimer. The information shared on this podcast is for general informational and entertainment purposes only. While we love being your Discovery Doc allies, we're not here to replace your doctor or healthcare provider. Consider us your fellow health explorers, sharing our findings as we uncover the mysteries of well-being. Always consult with a qualified medical professional before taking any action based on the content of this podcast. Just like an archaeological dig, this disclaimer may change occasionally, so be sure to check back for updates. Stay healthy, stay curious, and keep exploring with the Discovery Doc.